Hello, this is Mallory Havens, and this is Project 4 about Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams was an American photographer born February 20th, 1902, and died April 22nd, 1984. This is a quote from Ansel Adams. It says, "The negative is the equivalent of the composer's score, and the print is the performance." So it means that Ansel Adams was a very good person who had a lot of expertise in the darkroom. So whether he was given a good or bad negative, he could produce a very beautiful, excellent printed photograph. So that is his view on it. But I also see it as you are the composer. You're given a negative in life, no matter how good or how bad, and you make the performance. So it kind of relates in both ways. Some biographical information. So Ansel Adams was born in 1902 in San Francisco, California, and at a very young age he was diagnosed as hyperactive, which is having too much muscle activity, which made it very difficult for him to be successful in school. So at a young age he was homeschooled, which he only received an education equivalent to the 8th grade. In 1919, he joined the Sierra Club, which was an environmental organization, and the Sierra Club was really where he began developing a love for photography, which is where he started his career. In 1932, with the help of Edward Weston, he founded the group F64. Group F64 was a group of photographers that was based on straight photography in the West Coast. And after many photographic achievements, Ansel Adams died on April 22nd, 1984. Ansel Adams' photographic career started in 1919 when he joined the environmental group named the Sierra Club because of his love and passion for nature. He spent most of his time with the club in Yosemite, and his commitment to the club was really the start of where his photographic career blossomed. He published his first photographs in 1922 for the club's bulletin and took his first high trip in 1927. A high trip is a month-long trip that the clubs would take normally in the Sierra Nevada, but they would take them every summer. In 1928, Adams joined the Sierra Club on the high trip to Jasper National Park in the Canadian Rockies. This trip was so much more important than any of the trips that the club had taken because this was the first trip that traveled beyond international borders. So Ansel Adams got to be a part of that. He knew that his job was to take photographs for the trip as mementos for those who participated in it, but when he returned, he printed and sold a portfolio of them to only the members who went on the trip. In 1927, with the help of Albert M. Bender, Adams published his first portfolio. After meeting Bender, Adam realized that his dreams of pursuing photography and becoming more confident in his career path. It is said that his photographs, quote, did for the national parks something comparable to what Homer's epics did for the Odyssey. So with the help of Bender, Adams really got a perspective of how to pursue the photography and all the benefits that would come from it and how he could actually make a living off of this. And he became suddenly more confident and wanted to pursue it more often. Also in 1927, Ansel Adams met Edward Weston, and in 1932, the two men formed the group F64. Ansel Adams and Edward Weston became very close friends, and joined by other photographers such as Imogen Cunningham, Paul Strand, Edward Steichen, and Charles Sheeler. Group F64 focused on straight photography, which was opposing the view of pictorialism and moving more towards modernism. Their photos were black and white and full of detail and focus. So they weren't blurry as in the pictorialist pictures. They tried not to look like paintings. Everything was very sharp, very clear, but in black and white. In the same year that Group F-64 was given an exhibition in San Francisco, Ansel Adams was given his first one-time museum show. So that was definitely a big achievement for Ansel Adams. In 1935, Adams distributed his first book called Making a Photograph, with articles written by him in them. In 1933, Adams met Alfred Stieglitz, which was a man he seriously admired for his work and for everything else that he did. Their relationship developed, and in 1936, Alfred Stieglitz gave him a one-man show at an American Place in New York. In the 1930s and 40s, Adams faced financial difficulties and looked to commercial photography to help him get by, but his love for nature and landscape photography was always persevered. So a few photographs from Ansel Adams. This one is called Moonrise Hernandez, New Mexico. It was in 1941, so he was touring around with Group F-64. He was actually driving on a highway around 4 o'clock in the evening, and he saw a cemetery and a little town, but he could still see it lit up by the sun, even though that the moon was rising. So as the sun was setting and the moon was rising, he got to catch a very rare picture. He actually realized that he could capture this, ran out of his car with his camera, and realized that he forgot his light meter. So he took his knowledge from what the moon's luminance was, and he actually calculated what the light meter calculations would be in his head. So that is a very interesting story about this photograph, which makes it very special. This photo is called Monmouth, the Faith of Half Dome. It was in 1927, made from a glass place negative, which made it a gelatin silver print. This was when he was on a hike trip, I believe, with the Sierra Club. This one's called Autumn, Yosemite Valley in 1939. He did spend a lot of time in Yosemite. This is another one. This one's called Moth and Stump Intergalactical Forest, Glacier Bay National Park Monument, Alaska. So he did travel a lot with the Sierra Club and with Group F-64. This one is Mountain Wine, Kings Canyon National Park, California. Autumn Storm, Owens Valley, California. As you can see in a lot of these photographs that I'm showing, you can see large depth of field. So the large format cameras that he was using and the straight photography he was trying to pursue into modernism and the ideas of Group F-64, everything within what he was trying to achieve, you could see in his photographs. So you can see from foreground to middle ground to background, everything is very sharp, very clear, and very detailed. Mount Clarice King in Kings National Park, California. Yet again, you see everything close up, very detailed, and even though it looks in the distant and it looks lighter, the mountains still look very detailed. This is Alfred Stieglitz in the exhibition called An American Place in New York. So it's a different kind of photograph than what he normally does. It's actually of a person, not of a landscape, so that's interesting. This one is Winter Storm, Yosemite National Park, California. Again, everything is very detailed. This is different. It's not very mountain, it's more sand dunes. It's actually called Dunes Oshino, California. 1963, so it's one of his later photographs, but everything's very detailed still. Ribbon Falls, Yosemite Valley. Aspens, northern New Mexico. Dawn, Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. So you see where he's traveled a lot. He's traveled all over the U.S. And we don't know where this one's from, but it's called Dogwood Blossom. And it's just a different kind of environmental picture that he took. It wasn't really of a landscape, but it's still of something in nature. The significance of Ansel Adams' photography, he was an expert in the darkroom, so he did develop and try to improve what was capable of happening in the darkroom. He was known for his expertise in there and his way with working with negatives. Adams played a significant role in the shift from pictorialism to modernism, so him and Edward Westing forming Group F64 definitely helped with that shift. And his landscape photography, it was said that he was a, quote, defining figure in the romantic tradition of 19th century American landscape painting and photography.